Hey folks, thank you for joining me for today's craft video. In March 2022, Addison Public Library put together a makerspace series of programs. This included a series of Meet the Maker videos where you get to meet women in the Chicago area and learn about how they use their maker and STEAM skills for their jobs and careers. But we also wanted to show how your maker and STEAM skills can be used for other things. So a couple weeks ago, we showed you how to make your own recycled paper mixed with flower seeds as a way to upcycle and reduce and promote the environment. For today's video, we are going to show you something that can be used as a form of art therapy and expressive art, and that is blackout poetry. Now, blackout poetry is a very specific type of poetry. It is a type of poetry where you take printed sheets of paper. We have ripped out some sheets from a novel. You can also use newspapers or magazines. And you pick and choose words on that sheet to create your own poetry or words of affirmation or phrases. And the words that you don't choose get crossed out and redacted. So it's very eye-popping. It's kind of a way to express your emotions. And one of the challenges with this is that you are limited to the words that are on your sheet of paper. So just be aware that the poetry you create might not rhyme or might not follow a certain syllable pattern. Most likely you'll end up with a freestyle poem, or you might decide to do words or phrases or sentences that just really speak to you and what it is that you're feeling. We had a limited number of kits available for pickup in the Creative Studio. The kit included a couple sheets of paper from a book. We ripped these out of a adult fiction novel. We chose a fiction book because it has really descriptive words that you can choose from. We also included a permanent marker, a mounting board so you can tape and glue your finished item to the mounting board to display or frame. And then, because we know that not everyone is good with poetry or just getting started, we did supply some stencils. So that way, instead of doing traditional blackout poetry where you're creating a poem, we gave you the option to do kind of like a stenciled art blackout poetry version, which is a little bit easier to do. It's still eye-popping, and you can still choose words and phrases to highlight, but this way it's a little bit more, it's a little less intimidating, I should say. Not included in your kit that you might want to have at home is a pencil. This will help you plan out your poem. You might want to consider like a fine point marker or pen, or like other colors. So we're mostly dealing with black ink today, but you could include other colors into your artwork, so you can really just express yourself and get the vibe that you want. I also recommend having some scrap sheets so that way the ink from the marker doesn't bleed through and ruin your table. And then you are going to need some sort of like tape or glue or photo mount spray to mount your finished piece onto your mounting board. So this is everything that you need. Let's get started. So if you're doing traditional blackout poetry, what I recommend doing is having a pencil, and you want to read through your sheet and see if you find words or phrases that you really like. And you can either circle them or you can write them down on a scrap sheet of paper to help you kind of formulate your sentence or your poem. And then once you've picked out some phrases, you're going to take that marker, and again, you want to have a scrap sheet of paper underneath so the ink doesn't bleed through. And you're just going to cross out all of the other words except for the ones that you've selected. So my sample here says, "Glances up, she smiles, and hugged me." So it's not so much as a poem as it is kind of a statement or a sentence. As I mentioned, coming up with a poem or like a sentence might be difficult because you're limited to the words on the page. So if you're having a hard time creating like a poem or a phrase, we supplied stencils so that you can do stencil art instead. This is International Women's Day themed. Their theme this year was Break the Bias, so we have a stencil for that phrase that you can use. We also included silhouettes of women, since this is Women's History Month themed craft. So what you're going to do is pick out a stencil. You're going to lay it on top. Again, you want to have a scrap sheet underneath, and you are going to hold it in place while you do the outline. And then you want to clean up any spots where you might have missed a section. And once you get the outline, you're just going to redact all the other words. There you go. And if you like what I did on another one, was in addition to using the stencil, I kind of circled or highlighted a phrase that really stuck out to me that said, "But you have no idea." So you can even combine some of the poetry parts with the stencil art to create your own expressive art. So once you're done making your art, the last thing to do is to tape or glue it to the mounting board so you can display it or frame it for others to see. We hope this inspired you to do some more art therapy and expressive art. And don't forget to like or subscribe to our channel or read our newsletter for more opportunities for crafting and other programs here at Addison Public Library. Thank you and have a nice day.